My brother slapped me in front of 200 people at his engagement party because I wouldn't give him my condo. Turns out, a judge was watching. They found me near the silent auction table, flutes of champagne glinting under crystal lights. I just bid on a vintage architectural blueprint when I heard my father's voice behind me. There he is, our golden boy. I turned, surprised but not shocked. My parents only ever showed up to events like this when they needed something. And right behind them stood Julian, grinning like a kid who knew he'd already won the game. My name is Mark. I'm 38. I live in downtown Chicago. In a high-rise I designed myself, 27 stories of glass, steel, and peace. Or at least, it was peaceful until that night. We wanted to talk, my mother said sweetly, her diamond earrings swaying like tiny guillotines. It's about Julian and Ivy. I knew what was coming before she said it. I could feel it in my chest like pressure before a storm. They're expecting, my father said proudly. And they need somewhere stable. My champagne glass hovered mid-air. Are you asking me to give them my condo? Loan it, Julian said quickly. Just for a year or two. Ivy's been so stressed, she needs space. You built the place for yourself, Mom added, her voice like sugar over a knife. But Julian's starting a family. He needs it more. I stared at them. You want me to hand over the home I poured 3 years of my life into because I don't have a baby? Dad shrugged. You're single, Mark. No kids. That space is excessive. And you've always been the independent one, Mom added. You'll bounce back. I designed the condo from the ground up. Every window, every beam. Well, Ivy cut in from behind Julian, smiling too brightly. At least I'll finally get to live in something decent. That did it. I set my glass down carefully and stepped back. Not another word. Not even to Julian, who muttered something about me always being dramatic. They watched me walk away. I think they expected me to fight, to plead, to argue. But I wasn't going to give them that. I left the gala that night without saying goodbye, coat over my arm, heart pounding. Their laughter behind me faded as the cold air hit my face. Let them think I was being selfish. Let them think I was dramatic. I'd built my home with steel and intention, and they were about to learn exactly how firm my foundation was. I shouldn't have gone to the engagement party, but Julian had insisted, and despite everything, part of me wanted to see how far this charade would go. It was held in a modern art museum, glass ceilings, polished floors, giant abstract sculptures that looked like furniture melted in a fire. Very on brand for Ivy. I kept to myself at first, sipped my drink, nodded politely when people approached, tried not to flinch when relatives looked at me like I was the bad guy for saying no, like I'd stolen something instead of simply keeping what was mine. When the lights dimmed and the mic was passed around for speeches, I had a feeling it wouldn't end well. Julian stood near the fountain in the middle of the atrium, Ivy glowing beside him in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly payroll. We've been so lucky, he said, voice projecting with faux humility. So many people have helped us along the way. Our parents, our friends, our future landlords. He looked right at me. Some guests laughed nervously. I didn't blink. Ivy giggled and took the mic. Seriously though, we've got big changes coming, baby, wedding, and hopefully a new home. All thanks to Mark. Right? She turned toward me, eyes sharp behind the smile. The room shifted. Everyone looked at me. I didn't move. That's not happening, I said, calmly. Clearly, my voice didn't rise. A silence fell. Not dramatic. Just long enough to cut through the buzz of social energy like scissors. Ivy tilted her head, still pretending this was all cute. You're really going to let a family with a baby live in a shoebox while you hog the skyline? Julian's jaw tightened. You don't need it, Mark. You built the place for attention, not to actually live in. I forced a smile. I live there every day. Comfortably. Alone. Peacefully. And then, out of nowhere, Julian slapped me. The sound echoed like a dropped wine glass. It wasn't hard. It wasn't theatrical. But it was real. And it silenced the whole damn museum. Somewhere, someone let out a gasp. Then murmurs. Whispers. I didn't move. I looked at him. My brother. His hand still half raised, his face red with embarrassment or pride. I couldn't tell which. I didn't slap him back. Instead, I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my phone, and started typing. Seriously. Ivy barked. You're texting right now? I didn't answer her. I was crafting a message, carefully worded, composed, and deliberate. A private group message to a select list of people. My clients. My colleagues. People who mattered. People who would care about the truth. I had sinned. Then I looked up at the 100 or so guests, all staring, unsure whether to clap, to laugh, or to leave. I didn't say another word. I just turned, walked across the marble floor, and left the party. My cheeks stung, but it was nothing compared to what was coming for them. The message I sent that night was simple, but it was surgical. To those I respect and work beside, last night, at my brother's engagement party, I was physically assaulted in front of nearly 200 guests after declining to give up my home under pressure from my family. The condo in question is one I designed and built myself. I've supported my family for years, often quietly. This was not a disagreement. This was coercion, humiliation, and ultimately, violence. I attached a photo someone had texted me moments after the slap. Me standing still. Julian mid-swing. Ivy's shocked face in the background. I didn't need to embellish anything. By morning, my inbox was full. Some replies came from people I hadn't heard from in months. What the hell? You handled that with unbelievable composure. I was at the party. That was disgusting. If you ever need a witness, I've got you. A few replies came from big names, clients I designed entire properties for, industry heads, real estate developers. One message simply read, "Proud to know you. Let me know if you want to go public with this." Then came the call from Alicia Mercado, a senior editor at Design and Dignity, one of the top architecture and urban living magazines in the country. She'd been at the party, too. "I've already started outlining a feature," she said. "Not just about the slap, but the bigger story. What happens when success in a family becomes a threat? I want to title it, When Blood Runs Greedy." I didn't even have to say yes. I just said, "Send me a draft." Meanwhile, the engagement party had turned into a PR disaster. Someone posted a blurry video of the slap on a private industry forum. Within hours, it had been shared dozens of times. A friend forwarded me a screenshot from a group chat full of wedding planners and society event coordinators. One line stuck out. That was not family drama. That was professional sabotage in public. And still, somehow, Julian and Ivy didn't see it coming. They were too busy posing with centerpieces and reposting the venue's decor shots on Instagram. For a few hours, they tried to act like nothing had happened, until guests started leaving. Quietly. No goodbyes. Just a steady exodus of well-dressed people who no longer wanted to be associated with a couple that believed they could steal someone's home and slap him into silence. By midnight, Ivy had stopped posting. Julian hadn't said a word online. My parents, usually quick to post photos of any family gathering, stayed completely silent. The next morning, Ivy made the mistake of uploading a story, just a single boomerang of her engagement ring. The comments weren't what she expected. "Did he hit you with that hand too? Do you think you deserve a free condo because you're pregnant? Greed isn't a good color on you." She deleted it within the hour. By the end of the day, the headline on Design and Dignity went live. "When Blood Runs Greedy. How one architect was attacked for protecting what he built." They thought they could corner me. They didn't realize I'd built walls stronger than they could ever tear down. By the time Ivy posted her half-hearted clarification on Instagram, the damage had already crystallized. Last night was emotional for all of us. Sometimes family disagreements boil over. We're all trying our best. Let's move on with love and grace. The comments turned vicious almost immediately. Physical assault isn't a disagreement. Try taking accountability before asking for grace. So you lied, tried to steal property, and played the victim? She disabled comments within the hour, then locked her account entirely. Julian's went dark not long after. I said nothing. Not online. Not to reporters. Not even to my parents, who'd left me 2 voicemails each, muttering about how things had gotten out of hand and should have stayed private. I didn't bother replying. Instead, I forwarded everything to a PR specialist recommended by an old client of mine, a woman named Danielle Cho. She called me that same evening. I read the article. "You've already won the narrative," she said. "Now it's about managing what comes next. And honestly, Mark, this could elevate you beyond architecture. People love a dignified target." "I'm not interested in being a martyr," I told her. "You're not. You're a professional who said no and got slapped for it. Let the facts work for you." She offered to take me on as a free client. Pro bono. I like a clean story. And yours? It's razor sharp. I agreed. The next day, an unexpected name shared my original statement on LinkedIn, David Langford. He was one of the biggest real estate moguls in the Midwest, someone whose name opened doors in every development boardroom in the country. He captioned it, "In an industry where boundaries are constantly tested, this is how you hold the line, with integrity and calm. Mark is the kind of builder I trust with legacy projects." That post exploded. Danielle sent me a breakdown, engagement metrics, shares, screenshots of group threads where my name was being passed around with terms like visionary, principled, and the last honest man in the room. Then came the email from Judge Miriam Klein, a federal judge I had once worked with on a civic design proposal for juvenile court renovations. "Mark, I saw what happened. You handled yourself with restraint and class. I'm deeply disturbed by the entitlement shown toward your work and property. If you ever speak publicly about it, I'd like to attend." That message hit harder than I expected. It wasn't just sympathy. It was respect, recognition. From people who saw me not as a background character in someone else's drama, but as a man who stood his ground without flinching. Meanwhile, the corporate world around Julian and Ivy began to shrink. Ivy's marketing firm posted a vague statement about employee conduct not aligning with company values. Within 48 hours, her profile was scrubbed from the website. Julian's startup lost 2 investors after a background check pinged the article. One of them called the slap a credibility killer. Their future was unraveling, and I didn't say a word. No tweet, no speech, no public gloating. Just silence. The most powerful kind. They showed up at my office without warning. It was mid-afternoon. Sunlight spilled across my desk as I reviewed renderings for a community housing project. The front desk buzzed and my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Julian and Ivy are here. Should I send them away? I took a breath. No. Let them in. I met them in the conference room, glass walls, minimalist decor, models of past builds on the shelves behind me. I sat at the head of the table. They walked in like they were on trial. Julian looked like he hadn't slept. Ivy wore oversized sunglasses despite being indoors. Julian spoke first. We just want to talk. I leaned back in my chair. Talk then. He nodded nervously. Look, we messed up. Things got heated. I shouldn't have, he paused, unable to say hit you. I didn't help him. Ivy jumped in. We were overwhelmed. The baby. The wedding. Everyone's watching us now and then. You want me to undo it? I said flatly. To retract what I said. To make it all go away. Julian looked at the floor. We never meant to hurt you. You just wanted to take my home. Publicly shame me for saying no. Physically assault me. But no harm intended, got it? Ivy folded her arms. You're twisting things. No, I said, calm but sharp. You're just hearing them clearly for the first time. Julian took a shaky breath. I'm willing to apologize. Publicly. If that's what it takes. I stared at him. You didn't care until the world started watching. Silence settled between us. Then Ivy tried the oldest card in the book. We're family. This is what family does. They forgive each other. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lean forward. I just looked them both in the eye. Do you remember Thanksgiving 4 years ago? I said. You left early because Ivy didn't like my apartment. Said it felt cold. Julian winced. Or the time Mom told me to stop bringing boyfriends around because it made you too uncomfortable in front of the grandparents? No reply. You want to talk about family? Let's talk about how I paid for your first car, Julian. Or how I helped you get your first job interview by calling in a favor, only to have you ghost the firm. Ivy opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. I gave and gave and gave. And every time, it wasn't enough. Every time I set a boundary, you found new ways to shame me. So no, I don't owe you peace. I don't owe you a platform. I stood and nodded to the door. You can leave now. Julian hesitated. You don't mean that. I do. And just so we're clear, you are not welcome in this building again. Security will be informed. Ivy's face darkened. Wow, you're really going to be this cold? No, I said. I'm finally warm. Because I've shut the door on people who drain the heat. They left without another word. For the first time in years, I felt 10 pounds lighter. The slap went viral 2 days after Julian and Ivy's visit. Someone had recorded the moment on their phone, portrait mode, a little shaky, but clear enough. My brother's hand connecting with my face. Ivy standing nearby, smug. My stillness. The camera lingering as I calmly pulled out my phone. The video hit a local business blog first, then a gossip forum. Then someone clipped it with a trending audio and posted it on TikTok. It exploded. Comments flooded in. This man didn't flinch. You could hear the disrespect. Imagine slapping the person whose condo you're trying to steal. He built that place. They tried to take it. Then they hit him. What in the entitled hell? A talk show panel brought it up. One host called it a masterclass in boundaries. Another said, we need to normalize saying no, even to family. It spiraled into a bigger conversation. Suddenly, I was a symbol of quiet dignity, of saying enough, of refusing to sacrifice everything for people who only take. My inbox filled again, but this time, it wasn't just sympathy. Former colleagues, past interns, even old rivals reached out. I never said it back then, but I admired your work ethic. Saw the video. That slap just made your legacy stronger. I used to think you were too rigid. I get it now. One of my former professors sent a one-line email. That's how you build with backbone. Then came the fallout on their side. Ivy's job at a luxury marketing firm was the first to go. According to someone I knew on the inside, several clients pulled campaigns after seeing the video. One emailed the CEO directly. I don't want someone like her in my brand meetings. The firm issued a soft statement about reevaluating roles the same afternoon Ivy wiped her LinkedIn. Julian's startup, which had barely found its footing in the tech space, started hemorrhaging investor interest. 2 of his partners cut ties. I heard through the grapevine that one of them had already signed with a rival firm with me consulting on their design. Then the wedding took its hit. Vendors pulled out, citing brand reputation. The venue requested a new deposit. The dress designer withdrew her custom work and posted a cryptic Instagram story. My art won't walk down an aisle paved with greed. Wedding invitations, I later heard, started being returned unopened. Some with notes. One reportedly said, "You should have slapped yourself instead. The wedding didn't happen. It was postponed indefinitely." Ivy tried posting vague updates, but the silence around her grew louder than any caption. Meanwhile, Architect Weekly reached out. They wanted to do a full profile on me. Not just about buildings. About values. Legacy. What it means to build a life on your own terms. I said yes. Because I wasn't just reclaiming my story, I was redesigning the whole foundation. And for once, the city was watching not out of scandal, but out of respect. 6 months later, the condo was quieter than usual, just the soft hum of jazz in the background and the sound of fresh linens being tucked into the guest bed. I was getting ready for a friend from Seattle to visit, an old classmate from grad school. We hadn't spoken much in years, but after everything that happened, she'd reached out with the kind of message that doesn't need small talk. "If you ever need someone who remembers who you were before they all tried to reshape you, let me know." I did. Now here I was, fluffing pillows in the room Ivy once called wasted space. Funny. That same room had since been used for brainstorming sessions, after-hours wine with visiting colleagues, late-night calls with an old mentor who couldn't sleep. It wasn't wasted space. It was mine, and it was finally full of things that mattered. I stepped out onto the terrace just as the sun dipped behind the skyline. From this height, the city didn't feel chaotic. It felt designed. Like the world had finally stopped spinning long enough for me to breathe in peace. So much had changed. I wasn't just building structures anymore. I was building better boundaries. I'd started mentoring again. Quietly. A few undergrad architecture students. One brilliant high school kid whose first portfolio looked exactly like mine had at that age, too ambitious, too bold, and absolutely beautiful. I'd also started writing a book. Not about architecture, really. About decisions. About the invisible frameworks we all live inside. About how saying no is sometimes the strongest foundation you can lay. Danielle, my PR specialist turned friend, read the first few chapters. "You're not just telling your story," she said. "You're teaching people how to redraw their own." Julian and Ivy? Separated. I didn't hear it directly, but I saw the signs. Ivy moved back to the suburbs, her Instagram quietly rebranded into wellness quotes and neutral-tone smoothies. Julian was back at my parents' house, judging by the occasional mail forwarded to my firm by mistake. And my parents? Well, their dinner parties had gotten quieter. It turns out when you burn your most successful child for clout, the people who used to smile at your story stop returning your calls. I sipped my drink and looked out across the city, my city. The condo gleamed in the reflection of the setting sun, every panel of glass still exactly where I designed it to be. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was just steady, the way good buildings are. And finally, I was living in something that felt like home. It was raining the night he came. A slow, cold kind of rain that made the windows hiss and the city lights blur just enough to feel distant. I was in the kitchen, halfway through a glass of red wine, when the intercom buzzed. "Someone's downstairs for you," the doorman said. "Says it's family." I didn't need a name. I could feel it in my chest before he even stepped into the elevator. Julian. When the knock came, it wasn't angry or rushed. Just soft. Hesitant. I opened the door to find him soaked through. No umbrella, no jacket. His shoes squished with every shift of weight. His eyes were red. From the weather. Or not. "Hey," he said, voice almost a whisper. I didn't move. He gave a tight, nervous laugh. I didn't know where else to go. Ivy left. Took the last of our stuff. "I'm back at Mom and Dad's, but he paused. "It's not livable. Not really. I just need a place. For a few nights. Maybe help finding work. I'll pay you back. I swear." He looked thinner. Smaller somehow. Not the golden child. Just a man who had finally lost the script. I didn't answer right away. I just studied him. This was the same brother who slapped me in public. The one who stood next to our parents while they tried to gut me for parts. Who only saw my value when it benefited him. Now he was drenched, cold, and broken. And still my brother. I exhaled. "Julian, I'm not angry anymore." His eyes lifted. "Really?" I nodded. "But that doesn't mean I'm opening the door." He blinked. "What?" "I don't hate you. But I also don't trust you. Forgiveness doesn't mean return access. I just need a chance to fix it." I shook my head. "You don't fix things by leaning on the same person you try to break. You fix it by standing up on your own, even if no one's holding the ladder." He swallowed hard. Rain dripped from his hair onto the floor of the hallway. "You sure?" he asked, voice smaller now. "Yeah," I said softly. "I'm sure." I closed the door gently, not slamming it, not with spite, just quiet, final. I stood there for a moment, hand on the handle, heart heavy, but clear. Later that night, I wrote in my journal. Sometimes healing isn't about rebuilding bridges. It's about learning which ones were never safe to cross again. And I slept like a man with no visitors expected. Not anymore.